Hello, this is the Aubrey Knight. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So my introductions. Feel free to reach out. Feedback is greatly important, either through email, Substack, X, and of course, fill up the comments on YouTube. Be greatly appreciated. Alright, so a list of some of the podcast platforms that I'm on. Spreaker, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, just to name a few. So this episode focuses in on Audrey Hepburn and her relationship with the house of Givenchy. Here we go.
Soundstripe.
Okay, so this is the AI generated response that I typed in for Audrey Hepburn's relationship with Givenchy. Alright, so Audrey Hepburn with Givenchy had a long-lasting relationship, and it was very influential that spanned over 4 decades. Their partnership with Herbert D. Givenchy began in 1953 when Hepburn, a newcomer to Hollywood, saw Givenchy's design for her role in the film Sabrina. Givenchy was initially unaware of Hepburn, but their first meeting led to a deep friendship and professional collaboration. So Givenchy designed costumes for several of Hepburn's films, including Sabrina, Funny Face, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Paris When It Sizzles, How to Steal a Million, and Love Among Thieves, just to name a few. So Hepburn's preference for Givenchy's design extended beyond her film roles. She often wore his creations in her personal life and for significant events such as her wedding to Andre Doughty in '69. Their relationship was described as more than just professional. Givenchy once said it felt like a kind of marriage. Hepburn's grace and elegance were often attributed to Givenchy's designs, which completed her natural beauty and style. This partnership elevated both their careers, with Givenchy becoming a renowned couture stylist, designer, and that links to stylist, and Hepburn, one of the most beloved Hollywood icons. Even after Hepburn's death in 1983, Givenchy continued to cherish their bond, as evident by his emotional final gift to her. Their relationship has since become a model for the connection between designers and their muses, influencing the fashion and entertainment industry. Okay, so some of the sources here I'm reading. There is a YouTube.com. It says why you should know. I'm reading some of it. It's a lifestyles. Is a Hubert D. Givenchy. And then VanityFair.com. And Vogue.co.uk, just to name a few. Alright, so I am going to go into my thoughts, and of course I'm going to expand on the AI generated response for the fashion sense that Audrey Hepburn had and how that was embodied with Givenchy. Okay, so my thoughts about Audrey Hepburn and her relationship with Givenchy and just Audrey Hepburn in general. I think it just goes to say with the aspects of how fashion and in essence can create a personality within it. And so Breakfast at Tiffany's, Sabrina, and so forth, all of these movies, they're memorable because of the way that she looked, her attire, the wardrobe, costume, you want to say, for these movies. And so this translates a lot to what I was saying. I'm going to extend this out to what I was saying. Okay, you all, sorry about that. My husband's calling me. It's, if y'all feel it, the wintry blast is here. And it's in full effect. So, here we go. So, what I was saying is my extension my extension from what I was already saying about Audrey Hepburn. So Audrey Hepburn was a pivotal part in reshaping and changing the appearance or the psychological perception of being an actress or an actor. Sophistication ensued in line back. And it was enhanced, and it slowly was in presence when you saw actors like Clark Gable, and actors Marlene Dietrich, actresses like that, and but. Well, actor, Clark Gable, and actresses like Marlene Dietrich. But I think that Audrey Hepburn really, put sophistication on a whole nother playing field here. So what I mean by this is she was an actress who not only personified elegance, in her grace and in the clothes that she wore and in the type of roles that she took, and how even, for instance, what, sweetheart? What? Okay, sweetie. Mama's recording right now. I'll get back to you, okay? Bye-bye. That's my baby girl. Okay, so a movie like Breakfast at Tiffany's. Okay, so her role, for what it is, wasn't very pleasant, but she put, sophistication in the essence of it. And then, it's strange because, her role that she played is, very unsavory with Breakfast activities. But her overall charm and class, just reminisced in that role. And so going on to other aspects here, without her lifetime and her expanding in her lifetime to her legacy, she embodied grace in her personal life, where she made sure she gave back to the community. She helped with her philanthropy efforts on to the time she passed away. It was very embodied that she really believed, and she goes without saying, she wasn't just putting on airs. She really had a humbled heart there. And so that also in lines to reshape the aspects of, actors placing themselves, either they believed it or it was well crafted. You know what I'm saying? From the press or the movie studio house to give them the all-American wholesome look or image and family image and so forth. But that goes without saying, it changed the aspect, and people started to, she paved the way for people to start to have more of appreciation of the aspects of actors in our society. And so, when we get into, the aspects of the Oscars, we get into the aspects of Golden Globes and so forth, in that era with Gone with the Wind, and the era, starting out with that, taking pride in what you wore and showcasing your grace within your profession. And so Audrey Hepburn, whenever she would, go to awards and so forth, or she would be spotted, it was, a red carpet event, because her class just oozed out of her body with what she wore and how she looked, and but she just didn't even have to say words. You should just knew her stance. And so I think Givenchy really heightened that to the aspects of it, the relationship, and it changed the aspects of women's fashion at that time, and to, going to the aspects of, here we get the iconic, imagery of the housewife of the 50s. She's dressed to the nines with pearls and everything. And so I think that's a nice touch, even though, critics of it, is kitschy and unrealistic. Yes, of course, when you get into the day-to-day and day-to-day out, I know that personally, when you're cleaning and everything and cooking, you don't want to dress to the nines. You don't want to get your clothes your nice clothes messy. You gotta dress accordingly. But even so, the message is that it's, glamorous, and it's wonderful to be taking care of your family, being at home with your family, being a stay-at-home mom. That's a glamorous life, which it is, and it is a privilege. It's just unfortunate. People have their own opinions. That's, we everybody's different. We all share this rock. But, there's a lot of dignity in, and it's unfortunate it's not showcased now about being a stay-at-home mom. I'm proud to be that I have the opportunity. My husband's granted me the opportunity to stay at home with my children and our children, not just my children, our children. And, that it's just something to think about. And so, getting back to Audrey Hepburn with class and sophistication is really nice. It's a nice touch with the aspects of fashion and how that embodies and shapes the aspects of how people perceive Hollywood. The Hollywood now, but, old Hollywood. And there's a lot of stories that goes within that. No, I told you, y'all, in the evening, not right now. We already went out in the morning. Now my baby's talking about going out and playing in the snow again. So y'all get the point. So I'm going to move on and talk about more facts. Okay, yeah. No, not right. All right, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to talk about everything, read everything from this article, and then I'm going to give my interpretations towards the end about it. So this is by Barnabys.com. It's a magazine. and it's entitled Fashionable Friendship, Audrey Hepburn and Hubert D. Givenchy. The famous black dress worn by Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's in 1961 was originally designed by Givenchy. It's a part of a movie history and represents only a small page in a long collaboration between the Hollywood star and the French designer. Hubert de Givenchy was behind many of Hepburn's iconic looks, and the two together generated a timeless legacy of style. Givenchy's first work with Hepburn was on the set of 1954's film Sabrina, in which Hepburn plays a slightly sloppy teenager who wants to go to Paris. Sloppy teenager who wants to go to Paris and transforms into a lady of elegance and class. After rejecting the designers of Paramount costume, the designer of choice was Edith Head. Hepburn decided instead to ask to wear a real Parisian dress for the part. So Hepburn took the initiative, They took the initiative and was therefore directive to the French designer Hubert D. Givenchy, and although it initially was refused because he had to complete a collection, Hepburn still asked to see the project he was working on and ended up choosing all the designs for Givenchy's for the characters for this Parisian wardrobe. Among her chosen dresses was a black stained boat neck dress that made her a style icon and started Hepburn's iconic association with the little black dress. So, going on to haute couture for the aspects of this style, which, Givenchy fixed that to the T. So, Givenchy and Hepburn then co-designed all of the dresses for her character of Jo Stockerton in the 1957 film Funny Face, the musical in which she starred opposite Fred Astaire, including the stunning wedding dress she wears towards the end of the film. Since Givenchy had received no credit for her dress in the Sabrina movie, the credit was given to Edith Head instead. Hepburn made sure he was given full credit for Funny Face. Going on to Tiffany. So Hepburn and Givenchy went on to work together in the 1961 film Breakfast at Tiffany's, which permanently positioned Hepburn at the top of Hollywood fashion history, thanks to the black dress she wore in the film's opening scene. The 3 original dresses made by Givenchy for her character were deemed unsuitable for the film, as they were too short. The lower half, and then that's really funny that, too short when her role was, again, with the aspect of still being refined and demure, even though who she was portraying in Breakfast at Tiffany's. That's quite interesting that that's too short. So, the 3 original dresses made by Givenchy for her character were deemed unsuitable, as I said, because they were too short. The lower half of the dress was then redesigned by Edith Head, and new outfits based off the design were made for the film. Therefore, none of the 3 original dresses was made by Givenchy and have never been used in the film or promotional photography. The altered clothes that were originally worn for the film were allegedly destroyed by Head and Hepburn after filming, and all of their original clothes made by Givenchy, one is still owned by the Givenchy Archives, one is housed in the Madrid Cinema Museum, and one was auctioned in 2006 by Christie's for a staggering $917,114 US. Wow, that's a lot of big bucks there for history. Makes you wonder. So, for their first meeting in the 1950s, Givenchy and Hepburn became lifelong friends to the point that the actress described the designer as her best friend, and he in turn saw her as a sister. Hepburn always preferred Givenchy's designs for her own films and in her personal life. From Cecily Beaton's photo shoot for Vogue to award ceremonies, Hepburn was rarely seen wearing another designer's clothes. In 1954, Givenchy adapted to Hepburn's dress designed by Edith Head. And so this is a stepping stone to, I'm going to end and talk about next week, on next Wednesday. I'm going to talk about Rachel Zoe and the aspect of how, being a stylist and also with the aspect of being a designer, go into depth about that, how those two things translate to, the aspects of designing clothes. And it's quite interesting, talking about Rachel Zoe. She started her career out styling musicians and then going on to being a celebrity stylist for A-listers in Hollywood and so forth. And so it's quite interesting to see that journey in her reality show, how she, she has her own upscale line, Rachel Zoe, and how, her marks and being a stylist, how that makes and staples everything with creating her own fashion line. And so it's quite interesting going back to Givenchy and how he envisioned something, and he has, I'm speaking from my point of view, as the aspects of seeing something, you visually see something and then translating that into fabric and how those things talk and speak and interact with each other. Do they translate well? Do they not? What do you edit? What do you keep, and so forth? I think the process of designing in this aspects of fashion is quite interesting. And then on Sunday, I'm going to go into depth about more depth about my aspect of what I think about visual design, and then, interlace that with fashion and combine those together. And as an extenuation of what I already said about fashion on a previous episode that I did on Sunday for my messages in a bottle. So look forward to that. So for the go on to Substack on Sunday and listen to it for free. And if you want the full canon and you want to be a supporter of my podcast, just step on along and be a supporter, and you get the full canon. And then I'm working on even more exclusive episodes to where I publish twice a week instead of once a week. And I'm working that out in the coming months. So there you go. All right, so moving on. So here we go with Givenchy adapted Hepburn's dress designed by Edith Head from the film Roman Holiday for the Academy Awards, in which Hepburn won an Oscar. So the garment is now considered one of the best Oscar dresses in history, and was auctioned in 2011 for £84,000. Naturally, Hepburn also chose Givenchy as a stylist for her wedding dress for her wedding to her second husband, Andre Dottie, in 1969, until her death in 1993, as I stated earlier. So the actress and designer were close friends, and their partnership elevated Hepburn to become one of the most loved Hollywood icons of all time. And it capitulates, towards the end of how this wraps everything up by saying this: her grace, class, and beauty were enhanced by the dresses designed by Hubert D. Givenchy, and together they created a fashion legacy. And I sincerely concur with that. All right, so I am going to extend my thoughts and wrap everything up. Okay, so my final thoughts, my end thoughts here. So, Givenchy, Audrey Hepburn, is apropos, and it epitomizes the aspects of sophistication. And even in the essence of controversial movies like Breakfast Activities. So, Truman Capote, even, there's been cinematic adaptations, and then, in recent events with FX television adaptations about his association with Hollywood Wives and so forth. With that Swans, I think that was the name of the show on FX, Molly Ringwald and Demi Moore and so forth. So, my point is, his content is, for lack of a better term, very colorful, and that leads to being, uncensored. You don't, just very out there. Sorry about that. And so, going back to Breakfast at Tiffany's. Now, her character was, again, a lady of the night. And that's not really, that was part of her past. But that was the turning point with a lot of Truman Capote's work. It was these people that were tortured by something that had, assorted passes as the aspects in Breakfast at Tiffany's. But they're trying to translate that and move on and build something better for themselves. And that then, translates to their overall even internal and exward out into how they feel and look about themselves. And I think that, paying attention to the costume detail and the aspects of how this woman looks, how Audrey Hepburn attire looks, because they could have went so many different ways with it, but they decided to give her character, grace and humbled grace, but also, know that there's something else going on there, as in the embodiment of her translating that she's wanting something else, something more subtle, demurred for her life than what she was accustomed and was associated with. And I think that is the beauty of how something like that can transcend to how people perceive something. And so I think it was quite great that Audrey Hepburn understood that, and she knew when she got to prominence with her profession that she took it as an obligation to be, a role model in ways than one, and to having respect for the role that is of being an actress. And I think so that's also what fascinated me about the aspects of movie making, with how, costumes, wardrobes can transcend the perception of something. So, now I saw, it was really nice. It's like a breakdown of one of some of the greatest films of all time, something like that. And so, and then it also talked about the crew who made the magic of the character, brought that character to life. So, for instance, what came to mind to me was Mrs. Doubtfire. So they were talking about Mrs. Doubtfire, and they were talking about the costume, the person, woman that was on set for them, and she was award winning, and she is, I don't, I'm saying was this, I don't know if she's still, in the biz, as they say, retired, or what have you. And so, and it was very poignant to one of those things, which is what is good to do, and know that you really care about your craft. So she wasn't quite sure if they were making suggestions in how to alternate and go in a different way of the character Mrs. Doubtfire, and how Robin Williams should look for the role. And then, so she was like, oh, okay. And then, with a long story short, they came to a consensus. But she wanted to see what a child might think about this. And then the child had no idea that it was Robin Williams, had no idea, the child actually thought, and then getting the other consensus about it. Now, the adults on set knew what was going on, but even though, it's one of those things with the aspects of making a critique about this. Okay, because it's a kid, they want this or that and the other. But you need to give credit where credit is due, and give more credit to a child, because a child will be very honest with you. They'll tell you what they like, they don't like, and they don't have this sort of perspective that they have to, censor themselves here. And so when she got that feedback, she knew she was going in the right direction, and she just went on. And that's something to consider and think about with the aspects of how your attire, your identity, your association with what you wear, how you look, and so forth can translate and affect how people perceive you. And it's definitely something to think about here. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harvard Light. I'd like to know what you all think about the aspect of Audrey Hepburn and her contribution in cinema, and just in the aspects of that, and her contribution to fashion too. I'd like to know what you all think about her and those essence. Feel free to email me, and all of the links to contact me will be provided for you in this episode. So this reaches the end of the Hovering Light. Tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care out there. Bye-bye for now.